Welcome to Wrestling Over Everything, everybody. We are a very funny podcast out of Central Valley of California, focused on wrestling, Wrestling podcast. I'm Andrew, that's Dusty.
Hello, Governor. I did a British thing. You see?
You fucking nailed that one. Let's put another shrimp on the bobby.
Listen up, bruv.
Dude,
yeah.
Okay, anyway, we'll get to this. But follow us on, the biggest thing, subscribe to our YouTube. We've gotten some subscriptions. I need more of them. I'm addicted to them. So please subscribe to our YouTube. Tell your friends. I know you got friends who listen to who like wrestling. What are you doing? Not telling them about this. Like, I feel like you're doing them a disservice by not telling them about
You're so addicted to
all the things you do.
when you click on the when you click subscribe.
Hit that bell again. Actually hit it twice, because hitting it once probably turns it off again. Fuck. So follow us and all this stuff. We're on Blue Sky. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. Just probably type Wrestling Over Everything and you'll find it. Like, if you can't, hit us up. We'll give it to you.
Yeah, we're around.
You can find us. You know what our logo looks like.
We're in the spaces. We're in the places,
So this is one of our another one of our deep dives. Dusty has been coming to me with some like famous things in wrestling, because our deep dives aren't just like they're all about a guy, or they're all about a faction, or they're all about a storyline. They're about like different things. And for this one, Dusty wants to talk about the British Bulldogs, and we're gonna hit the British Bulldogs, I'm guessing their entire swath, but this kind of focuses on their WWE run, particularly towards the end of their WWE run, correct?
Well, this is kind of emblematic of their entire WWE run. It's just a lot harder to find things easily for their stuff in Japan, because it's in the early 80s, and the stuff in Stampede, it's the same thing. And their most famous run, this is the Dynamite Kid's most famous run in America.
Yeah.
Is with the WWF here. And I'm really interested to get your take on it, because the Dynamite Kid is sort of the forerunner for modern style of professional wrestling. All your favorite wrestlers' favorite wrestler is the Dynamite Kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's that kind of thing.
So Disco Inferno's favorite wrestler is the Dynamite Kid.
Surely Disco Inferno picked up a lot from the Dynamite Kid, watching those tapes from Japan, him versus Tiger Mask.
He's just standing there as a kid, looking at his TV and doing little disco moves the whole time he's watching the Tiger Mask.
Yeah, just being like, well, I'm not doing any of that stuff. I won't be doing Tiger Mask.
Pointing at the sky, pointing at his hip, pointing at the sky.
Yeah. When are they going to do disco moves? And it's
nobody's fixing their hair.
I know, it's a big subject that a lot of people are interested in. They're two interesting characters, and there's a lot of interesting stuff around it. And it's a blind spot that we haven't covered on the podcast yet. And I don't think that you've been watching Dynamite matches on your own.
I've never seen a Dynamite Kid match, and that was the thing about, like, that's one of the holes in my wrestling knowledge. I know more about wrestling than any random, like, you some what is it, some geek off the street? What is that? What do they say in Regulators?
Yeah, you can't be any geek off the street.
But when it comes to like you, or like the guys who've watched it their whole lives, I definitely have holes. And the Dynamite Kid, I've told you before, is like one of those holes that I've always wanted to watch his matches. I've heard so much cool stuff about him, and I was excited to finally get a chance. But real quick though, I did find who Glenn Gilberti's favorite wrestler is. The Disco Inferno. Do you want to know who it is? Or do you want to guess who it is?
Is it Hulk Hogan?
It's not Hulk Hogan. I would not be surprised if it was Hulk Hogan. He's known as a intercontinental champion.
Is it Mr. Perfect?
It is not Mr. Perfect.
Oh, interesting.
He had a long run.
You know what? I think that I might be able to draw a parallel I
Yeah.
have the Charlie Day string out. I
Yeah.
think I can draw a line between the Disco Inferno and one Honky Tonk Man.
Yeah, the honky tonk man. I
I
feel
mean,
like I
he's
could
cool, he's
see.
cocky, he's cool, he's cocky, he's bad.
He is bad.
That's all the things the Disco Inferno aspires to be.
Is the Disco Inferno like a B movie honky tonk man?
I could, yeah, he's kind of like, whenever they're making a movie and they're like, it's not a direct sequel, but it's like a spiritual sequel to
Yeah.
this. It's in, in the style of,
What's that what's that movie studio that just makes like fake versions of big Hollywood movies?
oh, Asylum.
Asylum. It's
Yeah,
Asylum honky tonk man is the Disco Inferno.
if it were an SAT question, it's Honky Tonk Man is to Rockabilly as Gwen Gilberti is to the disco era.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
and they might even be kind of similarly far apart. Like the height of Rockabilly versus when the Honky Tonk Man makes that gimmick might be similar. It's not
It's
exact, but
close.
similar
It's
to,
close. Yeah, it's close
when
for
the
sure.
height of disco to the Disco Inferno. Um,
Match made in
yeah,
heaven. I
man,
wonder if he's ever. I guarantee he has interviewed him. Anyway,
that makes a
so
lot of sense. And funny enough, there is a Honky Tonk Man story that I plan to relay in this episode.
that's great.
So
I listen. Honky Tonk Man's the type of he's the type of wrestler that like I shit on, but then end up like really liking because he's like a cocky heel and he's like he's ridiculous.
he drew a ton of money. People wanted to see that guy get beat up so bad.
I hate him.
I hate him so much. But yeah, so I really just wanted to do a British Bulldogs specific episode where we cover their big matches, a couple of their big angles, and just kind of generally talk about their career
Mm-hmm.
because they're an important tag team in the history of wrestling for a multitude of reasons. But to start, we have the Dynamite Kid, who was born December 5th, 1958, in Goulburn, Lancashire, England. Probably a cool time to be born in what I assume is a rough part of England. We
It
are
was probably
post
a rough part of England. Yeah.
we're post WW2, the big one, but
Yeah.
not so far away. So he starts training at the age of 13 years old to be a wrestler. Um, and he trained at a place called the Snake Pit,
Hell
which is
yeah,
dope.
dude.
Uh, so
Hell
uh,
yeah.
he learns freestyle wrestling. He's an amateur boxer. He's a tough guy, but they start telling him, like, especially in England, like the biggest wrestler in England, both literally and figuratively, is Big Daddy, just a big fat guy, and Haystacks Calhoun, just another big fat guy.
Hey, Haystacks
So
Calhoun, way better name than Big Daddy.
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy's
eh,
the fourth best Adam Sandler movie. You know.
so so they're telling the Dynamite Kid, like, you can be as tough as you want, you can want to be a wrestler as bad as you want, it's just not gonna happen for you. You're short for wrestling. You're not gonna be able to get, like, as athletic as your build could be. It's not for pro wrestling, which only, as it turns out, makes the Dynamite Kid tougher and meaner and want to prove everybody wrong. So he
Not surprised.
starts, yeah, he makes his official debut in 1975 as a pro. So and he's wrestling all over England. And then in 1979, a harbinger of things to come, the Junkyard Dog, yeah, Big Daddy.
That's the Big Daddy.
That's the Big Daddy right there. Uh,
Oh
so
my god.
uh, in 1979, the Junkyard Dog introduces uh, the Dynamite Kid to the anabolic steroid Denabol, and of course,
D-ball.
the Dynamite Kid takes to it
He loved it.
because, yeah, that's his favorite thing. Aside co-favorite things with Speed, which is introduced to him when he moves to Canada by Jake the Snake Roberts. Put it up on the big board.
God damn it, Jake the Snake Roberts.
if you're surprised. So uh Dynamite Kid is already popular in England and in Canada, and then he goes to Japan in 1980, and him and his main opponent for New Japan Pro Wrestling at that time is Tiger Mask, and they essentially revolutionized junior heavyweight wrestling. Like, it's not an overstatement to say that the matches that Dynamite Kid and Tiger Mask have completely change the style of wrestling. And this is Dynamite Kid bringing this style to Japan and then learning what he can and then bringing that back to Canada and making the junior heavyweight style in Canada as well. Like, these are five-star classic matches that they're having. So he's already famous and considered by a lot of people to be the best wrestler in the world by the time that he makes it to the WWF. So,
And at this time, when he's there, is Davey Boy also there, or is Davey Boy going off like doing his own thing at this time?
so Davey Boy Smith, born in the same part of England on November 27th, 1962. So he's 4 years younger than Dynamite Kid, and they're first cousins. And
First
he
cousins. Okay, I
also
knew they were cousins. I didn't know they which level of cousin they were.
he also starts training at the age of 13 at the Snake Pit, and starts wrestling, right, at the age of 15. And then he wrestles under the name Young David until he's for many years. And so at first, they're rivals in Stampede Wrestling and in Japan. They're having feuds for the junior heavyweight title in Japan, and they're one of the main feuds in Stampede Wrestling, opposed to each other. And so, and they're having great matches. Like, Davey Boy is behind Dynamite at this particular junction, but Davey Boy is bigger than the Dynamite Kid, and so he's able, like, he's doing all the same moves, but he can also pull off believably the power moves that Dynamite Kid isn't necessarily able to perform.
How much younger? What was it? 19? Is it 1960? So 2 years younger?
1962. He's 4 years
four
younger.
years younger. Okay.
Yeah. So they formed the tag team in 1983 after they feuded in Stampede in New Japan. They decide in Japan, like, hey, we're going to put you guys together.
Okay.
Yeah, Young David.
Old Dave Boy Smith. I think this is his first match, his first televised match. Look at the referee wearing a shirt that's just two colors split down the middle.
That's yeah. I mean, whenever the main thing you do in England is Big Daddy, you got to have you got to have a two-color shirt.
It's a right funny shit, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it? So in 1984, they win the Stampede International Tag Team titles in Canada for Stu Hart's promotion, and then they're wrestling for New Japan as well. And there's a little bit of espionage. This is wrestling shit that you love. There's a guy who works for New Japan that is a liaison for talent. He goes to have a meeting at a hotel with the British Bulldogs, who are with New Japan at this time. Now, that guy, the rep, has been sniped by All Japan. He's secretly working for All Japan and offering the guys more money to switch promotions. So they're in a hotel room, and essentially he's like, hey, Giant Baba, who runs All Japan, wants to give you $20,000 now, $20,000 for your first match, and then $10,000 a week to wrestle for All Japan, because in Japan the British Bulldogs are the biggest tag team in the world. Like, okay. And of course, they take the money. Mm-hmm. Because they don't care about the WWF at that point. WWF has a working relationship with New Japan, but they're like, we'll go to All Japan. We don't care. But the All Japan thing was you have to pretend like you're going to stay in New Japan because they're having a big tag team tournament in November. You have to pretend you're going to go to that, but you're not going to that. And then we're going to announce that you're actually in our big tag team tournament that's happening at the same time. And so in a little bit of like Dynamite Kid kind of being a stand-up guy, he takes the title belts right before they're gonna announce that they're gonna be in All Japan, and he FedExes them or whatever the equivalent is back to the New Japan office, so he doesn't keep their belts. But that kind of tips New Japan off, like, oh fuck, our guys are leaving, uh, even though they're under contract. They bounce and they go to All Japan for Giant Baba. And then they wrestle the Funks. They wrestle Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody. Like they are over huge.
Are them
there.
versus the Funks on YouTube?
It might be on YouTube. I didn't see it whenever I was going through the matches, but it might be on there. In the meantime, Brett and the Dynamite Kid. The Dynamite Kid had also won the version of the WWF's junior heavyweight belt at that point, but it was kind of shitty, and he didn't really care about it. And so whenever he went to All Japan, they kind of defuncted the belt. They were like, "Well, our guy is gone, so we don't care about this belt anymore."
Okay.
But they have Brett and the Dynamite Kid do some dark matches for them at television tapings. But back in the day, you only got $100 for your dark match or your house show match. And Dynamite Kid would basically told Vince, like, fuck you, dude, I'm not working for $100. And because he's making huge money in Japan and in Stampede, he doesn't need the WWF at that point. And he found like, it to be
gobble me donga, you knobhead.
Yeah, like it ain't right fit for me to do it, bruv.
You fucking bell end.
But then Vince buys Stampede Wrestling, quote unquote. He has an agreement in principle to buy Stampede from Stu. And Stu Hart is like, that's fine, but I want you to set up bringing on Dynamite Kid, Davey Boy, Brett, and Jim Neidhart. Those are my guys. Hire them to come to WWF.
No Owen yet?
No Owen yet. He's still in high school, I think, at this point.
Oh,
okay. But the Bulldogs were like, no, we don't want to do that. We don't care. And so Vince actually flew them from Japan to Toronto, like chartered a jet for them on their way home, got them in a limo, took him, had him go to a hotel, and basically pitched in person to them so that he could get. That's how bad he wanted the British Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Because
listen, pal, I'll if you want, I'll shit on your forehead.
I wonder.
I've done it before.
Yeah, I have a plan to do it again. He's.
Anyway, by the way, can one of you puke on command?
He's like, we're gonna call you the British Bulldogs. It's gonna be great. You like, we want you guys to be our top team. I don't know if it's the exact same, but I remember when he tried to get the Midnight Express, Jim Cornette said that he was pitching the idea that, like, we're going to make action figures out of you guys. And Jim Cornette was like, we're heels. Why would we be action? Why would anyone want to buy our action figure? The goal is to have them not want our action figure.
This guy's stupid. But what were they called before the British Bulldogs? Were they just called Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid?
I think they were still called the British Bulldogs. I don't have anything that says
the blokes.
Yeah, but Vince doesn't know shit. So he's like, you guys are really first cousins? And they're like, yeah. But
we'll call you the British Bulldogs. I just came up with that on the spot right now.
Yeah,
they trademarked it yesterday.
They're wearing the British Bulldog tights at the time. I just have a feeling British Bulldogs, the name, is going to work for us. So they agree to join Vince, and then they immediately are put into a feud with the Hart Foundation. That's okay. Like, all right, we have these guys. And Brett and Dynamite had been wrestling each other in Stampede, and they all knew each other. And I don't remember if Davey was married to Brett's sister yet, but like they all knew each other and they were all friends at this point.
It was so much in my head that Dynamite was associated with the Harts that I thought he was Canadian. Like, I knew British Bulldog was was England. It was from England. I didn't know until we watched these. Like literally until I started doing the research for this, that Dynamite Kid was actually from England. Um, it disappointed me, man. I wanted North America to
Yeah,
have that one. You know what I mean?
yeah. Bret Hart has a quote here. The Bulldogs were a very special team, and I think that it was the matches with the Hart Foundation that launched me and Jim Neidhart for starters. But the Bulldogs have their own iconic sort of place in tag team wrestling, and it was because of the way they worked, and they changed the pace of wrestling. I think not just in tag team wrestling, but in the whole card. The Bulldogs really sort of raised the bar, and I think the Hart Foundation, when we worked with the Bulldogs, we raised the bar even higher.
Yeah, and I think all that's fair. I mean, I haven't seen all the historical context, obviously, but like I see a lot of the Steiners when I watch the Bulldogs. Like they are two jacked physical specimens.
Yeah.
Their body fat percentage is probably less than Rick Steiner's, but maybe about the same as Scott Steiner's. You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
big. Like they are big, and they're very, very, very obviously juiced up to the tits.
Yeah.
And but the way that they move, the way that like the way they use their strength and athleticism reminds me a lot of the Steiner brothers.
Yeah, and I think it's
It should go the other way around,
especially
I guess.
uh, especially if you watch a lot of 80s, early 80s and mid 80s WWF, like the speed at which the British Bulldogs and the Hart Foundation are moving as a team is incredible compared to like some of these other guys that we're going to see little clips of throughout this thing. But our first match is from September 23rd, 1985. This is the Hart Foundation versus the British Bulldogs from a Madison Square Garden show that's being put together and rebroadcast. I thought this was really interesting because this is one of the earliest iterations of Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart together. Like they didn't come together as a package originally, which is really silly. They were put together because both of them were floundering. They wanted Bret Hart to be a cowboy. I don't want to be a cowboy. uh,
I don't want
he
to.
was.
I'm Canadian.
Yeah. They had him. Cowboy Bret Hart was his name, and then like
He's a
Jim
cowboy.
Neidhart.
Ah.
Yeah, Jim Neidhart was in the low card, and essentially Bret was going to quit, and they were like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And he's like, "Put me and Jim together with Jimmy Hart, and just let us be we'll be the Hart Foundation." And they were like, "Okay, whatever." And then right after that, they get the British Bulldogs, and so luckily they've got a team that they can immediately have these kind of matches with.
Was Jimmy Hart like incidentally named Hart?
He was Jimmy Hart before, yeah.
Yeah.
He was Jimmy Hart in Memphis. It just turned out that he had also come to the WWF.
That guy is goddamn everywhere, isn't he? Like
He's
still alive, right?
Yeah, he's still doing it.
It seems like everything we watch has either Jimmy Hart or like Bill Alfonso, because the only thing he's not in is ECW.
The not quite Jimmy Hart.
That is the Asylum. Jimmy Hart is Bill Alfonso.
Yeah, Jimmy Hart is to WWF as Bill Alfonso is to ECW. They're the same guy. Yeah, he was just a well-used manager. Like he manages like a different cadre of heels than Bobby Heenan. I guess depending on where you want your guy on the card. I think Jimmy Hart more managed like the intercontinental level guys. Like he was Honky Tonk Man's manager. But Bobby Heenan managed more of your like main event guys.
Yeah.
But so this is even before the pink and black for the Hart Foundation. They're in blue and black.
It was jarring.
Then the British Bulldogs have no accoutrement. They have red tights that have a bulldog outline on it, and that's it. But they still get a pretty good pop, and they're fairly new, I think, to the company at this point. So I remember reading a thing where Bret said, like, yeah, Hogan would draw the money on these cards, but like the Hogan matches weren't gonna, scintillate the crowd. So like every night we wanted them to leave. They come to the building for Hogan, but we wanted them to leave the building talking about the Hart Foundation and the British Bulldogs. Like we saw some shit when we saw them. Like
Yeah,
they were
I think
doing,
that's I think that probably happened a lot. Like there's a part in this match where Brett has Dynamite Kid in like a policeman's hold, the one with like, is that what they call it? The one with the arm around the back?
Oh, a hammerlock.
Hammerlock. That's what they
Yeah.
call it. Fucking it's so stupid. So he's got Dynamite Kid in the hammerlock, and Dynamite like kind of turns and just starts running towards the ropes and like throw like kind of like guides Brett through the middle of the ropes. That's something.
Yeah.
And once again, that's not like some dynamic like the first time I saw the 619. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but my favorite thing about wrestling is like the subtle little things like that, or like when a thing doesn't look perfect. Like you see Dynamite Kid throw a lot of like his clotheslines don't look perfect. They like JBL's clothesline. Like a lot of times the guy went through the guy like butter. Like Dynamite Kid's clothesline, his arm actually like kind of ricochets off the guy because he's actually fucking hitting the guy.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
hard. Like,
Well, and you can tell like for this crowd, they don't, again, it's a style thing. And the WWF ring famously at this point is hard as shit. Like it's it's concrete.
hell yeah, dude.
And because they don't want it to bounce because they don't want it to look fake. And so like the Stampede ring has more give, the WCW rings, the NWA rings famously had more give, but like people aren't taking bumps on this ring night after night. If you're the Iron Sheik or Nikolai Volkov or any of those dudes, like you're not wanting to bump around this thing, and you're getting a lot of action in these tag matches. Like early in this match, Dynamite Kid grabs Bret Hart in like a slingshot position, and he slingshots him, and Bret takes a chest bump straight into the turnbuckle, and you hear the crowd go, "Ooh!" Because the whole night they haven't seen anything that's as good as that.
Brett was really good at slamming his chest into that turnbuckle, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's I thought it was really funny. There's a part where Brett and Dynamite have like a little technical thing at the beginning, and then Davey Boy gets tagged in, and Jim Neidhart gets tagged in, and Gorilla Monsoon goes, "Well, both of the Bulldogs are fast and technical, but neither one of them has the strength to compare with the Anvil." And right as he's saying that, British Bulldog picks up Jim Neidhart with one arm and fucking body slams him.
Yeah.
Like there's a victory roll in this match, which I don't think is widely used in the WWF at that point. And they just have a great chemistry, and they have a really good tag match. And the finish of this match is really good, where the Hart Foundation are going for an early version of their finish, where Jim picks the guy up and kind of squats with him, and then Brett runs off the ropes and hits the clothesline. That's the more standard version, but Brett actually comes off the top rope with the clothesline here out of the squat, and then the ref is getting Jim out, and the Dynamite Kid hits a flying headbutt from like 3/4 across the ring onto Brett, behind the referee's back, flips him over and covers him, and they pick up the win.
Yeah, it was perfectly timed because at first Jim the Anvil Neidhart got in, and he wasn't the legal man. They didn't have a tag. And Monsoon and Heenan were talking about that. And then he tags in, Brett comes in, all that happens, and Davey Boy and Brett are hooking up in the middle, and freaking it like, so Dynamite comes at flying in, hits him, pushes Davey Boy, so Davey Boy rolls out of the ring like right as the referee's turning around. Like it was just such good timing and a unique finish. Like a couple of these matches have really unique finishes.
And then, famously, referees can't tell British people apart. So,
to be fair, I have a hard time sometimes telling these two fucking guys apart. Yeah. Like, I literally, there were a couple times where I watched multiple minutes thinking I was watching Dynamite Kid, and it turns around, and it's goddamn Davey Boy Smith again.
Well, you have to remember, Dynamite is the more technical one. Yeah, Dynamite's the more technical one. The British Bulldog is bizarre.
He
So
is
you have to
bizarre.
remember. You have to remember.
we got,
Uh,
I need to get that sound drop. I'm gonna win
yeah,
the Royal Rumble because I'm bizarre.
because I'm so bizarre. Um, 18 minutes 31 seconds. This got 3 stars. I don't think this is Meltzer rated, but some rating site I saw gave this 3 stars, which was the highest match rating for this particular house show. Uh, and like kind of a snapshot. I don't know that if this is the best Hart Foundation versus British Bulldogs match. Um, a lot of them end in disqualification, and they've had a lot
Okay.
of matches.
Okay.
So, but really great. And I thought like really showed the style, really shows off the Dynamite Kid and Davey Boy Smith and like their dynamic as a tag team.
Yeah, for sure.
And
It's a really
like
fun match.
a really good match for the era, pretty good match for right now. If I
Oh
watched
yeah,
this on like on a show today, I'd be like, "Oh, a damn fine match."
it would be refreshing to watch
Yeah.
like people competently working with a bunch of chemistry, and like you're not seeing, and they're not do I don't think they're doing this as much anymore with the camera switches where it's like where they would like zoom in really fast on every punch and like all that
Oh
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
It would like if this was shot the same way and shown the same way, some people wouldn't like it, like a lot of the like kind of modern fans, which there's nothing wrong with that, but like I think it'd be really refreshing to see something like this.
Yeah.
um
So then the next feud that the Bulldogs get into is with the Dream Team of Greg the Hammer Valentine and Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Why are they called the Dream Team? Because it was seen backstage as a stroke of genius by WWF management, because both of these guys had been in big singles feuds, and
it
so
was
now
seen it was
they're
seen as a
together.
stroke of genius.
That is according to the AI overview that I
we,
asked why the Dream Team is called the Dream Team.
we put them
Uh,
together, and we were like, who would I would have never thought about calling them the goddamn dream team. What do I know Lou Albano from? Because we did something and talked about him.
Captain Lou. I don't remember exact
Okay.
some random
If you
thing.
looked at like all of it, because we talked,
Yeah.
I can't remember what our like thing about him was, but there's something we like anyway.
So they essentially feud for over a year, or close to a year, for the tag team titles, and the Bulldogs keep getting that close to winning the tag titles. Um, One of the things that I think becomes quickly apparent is no matter how great the wrestling is from the British Bulldogs, these guys are not at this particular point shining in the personality department, which I imagine is why they were put with
Yeah.
Captain Lou Albano, uh,
They're not
because
the
we
most
watched.
charismatic guys in the world. And the
Yeah.
British guys are usually really good to talk, like at talking. Like
Yeah.
we get hypnotized by them. Like they don't even have to be that smart.
Yeah.
But these guys are like,
Your Idris Elbas and your Jason Stathams and so forth.
yeah,
Like,
you're
yeah.
halfway. It's like if you're fat, you're halfway to funny. If you have a British accent, you're halfway to interesting. And like
Yeah.
these guys are like, well, yeah, we're gonna beat them. That's like
Yeah.
that's basically all you'd hear.
In the lead up to WrestleMania 2, we watched an interview that was done on Tuesday Night Titans, Andrew, which I think this is your first sort of look at Tuesday Night Titans.
And listen, I wish we had more interview shows, but I just feel like we make it too real now. Like
Yeah.
where it's like Becky Lynch comes in and she does like a normal interview at a table, and it's like it feels like a sporting event, you know?
Yeah.
They should go back to the like a night like a late night TV show setting for all their interviews for these things, you know?
Yeah, it's like a fake Tonight Show, essentially.
I love it.
Um, and it's, hosted by Vince originally, and then Gene Okerlund takes over, and Lord Alfred Hayes is his Ed McMahon, just kind of being on the couch, and it's it's interesting because at the time they're not doing this. No one else is doing. It's revolutionary at the time. It looks kind of silly now, but it's like sit down interviews where it's not them yelling. It's them sort of yelling about who they're going to wrestle, but it's a different vibe. and then they would have sketches, like, and not a lot of it is great because wrestling sketches have a
there,
long and varied history,
there's
you know.
funny and there's wrestling funny. Wrestling funny is
Yeah,
distinctly different from regular funny.
yeah. Sometimes you get both. Bobby Heenan is wrestling funny and regular funny,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah,
Andy Kaufman, obviously.
yeah. So they bring the British Bulldogs out, and I immediately Captain Lou has done what I imagine is his weight in cocaine. It feels like he's at a 10 the second he comes out, and he's with the British Bulldogs, who are both very serious professionals
When
who want to talk about
he's
wrestling.
hawking his book. He wrote
Yeah,
a book.
wise guys, some kind of mob book that he wants people to buy. And also, the British Bulldogs are going to win the tag titles of WrestleMania 2. But take a look at these photos, high
Oh,
glossy photos.
there's a part where he's like, I don't want to promote myself, but check out this book. Like it's verbatim, like that's what he's. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
He looks like if you took a dirtball '90s wrestling fan and let him be part of the show.
Yeah, well, he's Margaritaville as a person. Like every Jimmy Buffett song is about Captain Lou Albano. You
If it ended with, oh, by the way, I also haven't showered for a week, right at the end of the Jimmy Buffett song.
I put that context on Cheeseburger in Paradise myself.
That's fair.
But yeah, he's yelling, and part of the reason is so Lou Albano was like one of the first big time managers and heel managers in wrestling. Like there didn't really have that before. And Lou was a wrestler and he was a football player and he retired early. And then he's something like 15 times he's managed the tag team champions throughout history at this point, and he's always with the heel. And they figured out, oh, people want to see Captain Lou get his comeuppance, and they also hate the guys Captain Lou is with. So
Yeah.
he's a heel manager for a long time. In the lead up to WrestleMania 1, he becomes a babyface because he ends up being on music videos with Cyndi Lauper. He plays Cyndi Lauper's dad in like 2 or 3 of her music videos, and then that turns him babyface.
This is starting to
Come together for you. Yeah. So then they they cut to a clip of the British Bulldogs versus the Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, but they only show like 3 minutes of this match, and they don't show the finish. They show the babyface is kind of getting beat up, and I was like, how is this promoting the British Bulldogs?
And everybody like claps when it comes back.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Like,
hey,
you got to pay, you got to go to the house show to see a finish to the Nikolai Volkov Iron Sheik British Bulldogs match.
Well,
put down
match,
that cash.
The most memorable thing for me about that match is that is the first time out of actually quite a few times in this whole shebang bang where we see one of my new least favorite wrestling moves that is in. We see it, I think, 4 times throughout the matches in this thing. So I guess they were just doing this a bunch in the 80s. Guy puts his foot up on the rope and you throw the other guy into the guy's foot.
Oh. Yeah.
That doesn't hurt that. That doesn't hurt that bad. Like the foot, the way that you're holding your foot up on that thing, you hit your face on that foot. That foot's moving. It's not gonna. I'll let you do that to me right now, and we don't have to work it. And like the Sheik is it's just such a Sheik move, dude. He's standing there, and he just they're who's the Sheik's
Nikolai
partner?
Volkov.
Nikolai Volkov. So Volkov has one of the Bulldogs, and the Sheik just leans for the side, puts his foot at the top of the fucking turnbuckle as Volkov throws the guy's head onto it. And I was like, oh, come on. And then the Bulldogs did it like 3 times in the match.
I mean, yeah, like you said, that's a classic 80s staple that I guess I've never really interrogated the mechanism behind that, like why that would hurt.
Yeah, it's just so stupid.
It looks efficient, you know.
I'd rather hit it would hurt more to hit just the rope.
Yeah, or the buckle, even. You know, so then they throw. Yeah. So then they throw to Dynamite Kid, And we see why they need Captain Lou, unfortunately, because the Dynamite Kid, they're like Vince again. McMahon has also done a whole bunch of cocaine,
Yeah.
and he's like WrestleMania 2. What do you guys think? The Dream Team. What are you going to do? And Dynamite Kid's like, well, they're one of the best teams in the world. We've wrestled them a whole year. But we're going to beat them.
Do you have any biscuits?
I need crumpets.
I'd be right jolly if you had some biscuits.
It'd be right proper if you gave me a biscuit, bruv. But that leads us to WrestleMania 2, the British Bulldogs versus the Dream Team, April 7th, 1986. This is from the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago, Illinois. WrestleMania 2, one of the dumbest ideas in history. WrestleMania
I can see why they thought it was a good idea, though.
WrestleMania 1 happens, and Vince's mind is immediately like, what's bigger than what can we do to top WrestleMania 1? WrestleMania 2, I know, will hold 3 separate events in 3 cities on the same day.
Yeah.
And so they're in New York for the first portion, which I believe is headlined by Mr. T versus Rowdy Piper. Number 2 is at the Rosemont Horizon where we are. And the big one for that is a 20-person battle royal.
That's in Chicago.
That's in Chicago. That's a 20-person battle royal that includes members of the Chicago Bears football team.
Yeah, the Fridge.
Yeah, the Fridge. And then the third is in LA, which is Hogan versus King Kong Bundy in a steel cage. But just like, I can't imagine if I lived in Chicago, I got to get there 3 hours early, and then on a giant screen, I get to watch 2/3 of WrestleMania, and that's it. Like, so stupid. The British Bulldog.
I can see why you thought it was a good idea, though.
Sure,
it makes it feel like a true national event. Like it's everywhere. Right. Like we're taking over the country.
There's a lot of this stuff where it's like, man, they were so hot. Like, no matter what they did, it seemed to be okay. They could come back from stumbles and make it because of everything was so hot at that point.
Yeah, they had opportunities to mess around with it, and I'm glad they did. Not everything landed, but I'm glad they messed around with it.
The British Bulldogs have Ozzy Osbourne in their corner.
So sick, by the way. That pink suit that he's wearing, and it's not like a super crazy bright pink suit. It's like a muted pink. Oh man, coolest guy, one of the coolest guys in the world at that point.
But unfortunately for Captain Lou, that means he had to split up his Coke with Ozzy.
Yeah. Ozzy brought his own Coke. Come on, dude.
Yeah, he likes his.
He didn't tell Lou he had Coke, but he.
Yeah. I like this match quite a bit. It's an interesting stylistic matchup because Greg Valentine is not known for being a quick man.
One of my notes is Greg the Hammer Valentine is not exactly a slob, but he does look like he won a contest to be in the ring with these guys.
Yeah, he's moving at his pace. Greg Valentine does things on Greg Valentine's time.
He looks like the guy who your mom almost married.
Yeah. he could be my uncle for sure.
Yeah, how's your mom doing?
Yeah, and then
don't fucking ever mention her name again. Greg the Hammer Valentine.
One really funny thing in this match is anytime the Bulldogs mount any offense on Greg Valentine, he's gesturing for Brutus Beefcake to get in the ring to help him. No matter what the move is, he takes a suplex. He's like, "Hey, you got to get in here." Help me out.
That's one thing I haven't seen. I don't know if I've ever seen that. It's just every time he's in trouble, he's like, come cheat for me.
Please, dear God, help me.
And what's his name? Brutus Beefcake. So this is one thing that I've noticed. This is what, 1985? Is that what this is?
86.
86. Okay. This is 1986. This is about probably 6-7 years before how I remember these guys.
Yeah.
So Jim the Anvil Neidhart moved a lot better than I remembered. Bret Hart had a little bit of baby fat on his face. He looked weird. He was really pale and he wasn't a rock star yet, right? And then,
Yeah.
but then you get to guys like Greg the Hammer Valentine in a lot better shape than I remember him being in. The Honky Tonk Man is a house. He is huge. Not Honky Tonk Man. Freaking Bruce the Barber Beefcake. He's
Yeah.
huge, but he's like slim huge. He looks great, and he's
Yeah.
wearing like purple leopard stuff, like
Yeah,
cheetah print.
yellow. I think they're yellow cheetah print pants.
Yellow cheetah print pants, but long purple gloves.
Yeah, yeah. He's a fashion icon. I mean, they
Yeah,
say Gaga did it first, but I looked for Brutus Beefcake.
I wrote it down and I said I love the hammer. No wait, what did I write? I wrote down somewhere. I said that I like Beefcake with this gear, but
Yeah.
then I kind of turned on it because like as the match kept going with these guys having this really cool match, and it's Greg the Hammer Valentine and the British Bulldogs, like every few minutes you'd look over and Brutus Beefcake wearing that outfit just looks more and more ridiculous as the match went by.
Yeah, I mean the thing you can say a lot about Ed Leslie, the
Yeah,
man.
you certainly can.
You certainly can. But
Stay
like,
away from the
dude,
beach.
dude was always in shape. Like
He looks
he
fucking
always
great in this.
he looks great, and him and Valentine work really well together. Greg Valentine in this match does a power driver in a way that I've never seen done before. So he picks up Dynamite like a standard power driver, and then he just drops to his knees and
Yeah,
kind of pushes Dynamite Kid out. And I was like,
it's
oh,
kind of tombstone-y.
yeah, I guess it's like reversed, where like instead of the guy,
Oh, his head was facing out. Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I don't think I've seen that a lot of times. I don't think they do that a lot because the potential to break your neck seems a lot higher in that particular move.
I don't know. I'm trying to
Like,
decide. I don't know. I wouldn't want to take it. I mean, I trust the hammer. Who doesn't
oh
trust the
yeah,
hammer?
yeah. Who
But
can't trust the hammer?
if you can't
The
trust the hammer, who can you trust? You know?
so they're having this match, and then all of a sudden the Bulldogs are kind of it's there's heat. They're doing heat on Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, and then British Bulldog gets out of it, and Dynamite Kid's just on the second rope, like leaning in, and Davey Boy Smith rams Greg Valentine's head straight up into the Dynamite Kid, who takes the best bump of this match off camera, like from the second rope straight to the floor. And then the British Bulldogs win the World Tag Team titles at 13 minutes and 3 seconds. Kind of surprised the referee. They're not sports entertainment yet because the referee count on this is very low. It's very like,
I had to rewind it because I was like,
yeah,
I was like, did he even do a 3 count? Like
yeah,
a lot of these, I don't know if they like. First of all, there's probably two things. They probably didn't mic things as well as they do now, or as they
yeah.
eventually did, and the guy's not slamming his hand very hard.
You got to get your shoulder up.
Yeah, that is one thing that has gotten way better. The 3 counts now are way better than the 3 counts back in the day.
Yeah.
You went from this horse shit to the Nick Patrick's like limp wristed version,
Yeah.
and then you got the guys who are doing it how they are today. When I saw the Dynamite Kid fly off of the top rope because he just falls almost dead off screen. Like
Yeah.
you see their heads hit. And then it's a really cool finish. And you see their heads hit, and he just falls backwards. And he is not reaching to break his fall. He's not doing. And I just went, "Oh fuck!" and I rewound it again because it was a really cool bump. But you can tell, like he's hurting. He's hurting pretty bad.
Yeah. They the Bulldogs win, and then in the ring, Mean Gene Okerlund comes in. Dynamite's on the floor. Davey Boy's gone to the floor to kind of check on him. And so that leaves Gene Okerlund in the ring with Lou Albano and Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
And so he goes to Ozzy. And of course, we'll forever remember Ozzy's words. This was great. British Bulldogs forever.
Yeah.
And they go to Lou
and play ping pong.
Yeah. They go to Lou, and he's like 16-time champions, baby. But let's interview the guys. And Dynamite Kid is on another plane.
He's effed.
Like
he's
he's
effed.
he does not live on Earth anymore. You could tell, and Davey Boy's trying to get him in the ring, and eventually abandons that because they can't do it. So he gets in the ring, and he promises now to stay in the U.S. He's like, "Hey, if we didn't win, we were gonna leave, but
Yeah.
now that we're the champs, baby, don't worry, we're staying forever." And
Mm-hmm.
what a weird promise to have to make. That's not a stipulation in this match.
Vince is like, "You were gonna leave? What the fuck?
Yeah,
No, I'll
you're gonna.
kill you. I'll kill both of you. You know, this is America now.
Yeah, you're gonna New Japan me. Nobody New Japans me.
No,
Uh,
you gotta
it's
worry about more than the Yakuza, pal."
it's also interesting because in this match they build in there are two referees. Apparently, there's been a bunch of DQ and screwy finishes going in,
Yeah,
but the two referees does not like now. If they do that, that clearly is going to be
gonna
involved in the
factor into the
finish.
finish. Yeah.
Right. In this, there's no the second referee doesn't do anything. I don't even notice the second referee.
Well, see, and I've told you this before. Like, it's the same concept with like falls count anywhere, but then the fall happens in the ring. I like that they do that every once in a while, so you and I can't go.
Sure.
So I guess two referees are going to have something to do at the end of this match.
Right.
But the funny thing about that is, though, they say, "Hey, two referees," so you think, okay, this is going to be more well officiated, and then. When this match ends, I don't know if it's real or not. I keep saying the honky tonk man, Bruce the Barber Beefcake has no idea what happened. Like he is like it's like nobody told him what the finish was gonna be,
Right,
and also
yeah.
he didn't notice because he's like looking around. He's like, "What, guys? Are we the champs? Are they the champs? What's going on? Why am I wearing these pants?"
I really was gonna have other gloves. These are I put. You know how it goes. There was one purple sock in. So next we go. Look.
Well, real quick, one last thing.
Oh
sorry.
yeah. Go ahead.
The Bulldogs tease a move that I don't see that we haven't seen them do in the rest of these unless I missed it.
Oh yeah.
The press slam.
Yes, press slam into the headbutt was like their official finish.
So he would like pick him up, and would he throw him or would he drop him?
He'd drop him.
I wrote
or kind of toss him, I guess. But
I wrote in capital letters, "Oh, I think I like the press slam." Like, cause like
yeah,
it makes sense. It's stupid. You're just throwing your friend's head at the other guy. But like, it's not. This would hurt a little bit at least. And like, it wouldn't hurt that much less than him going up on the ropes. And you can do it from anywhere. You don't need ropes. You just have that big fucking guy pick up that big fucking guy, and throw him at that big fucking guy. You know,
pick up the slightly less big fucking guy and throw him at his
the lawn dart. I love it.
It's interesting in the WWF at that point. Like a lot of they're the big finish company. Like they like a guy having a finishing move and they want to like drill it into your head. Hey, this guy hits this move. And the NWA was a little different. Like they'd hit their finishers in jobber matches, but the real like the star versus star matches most of the time didn't have like the finisher be the end of the match. But WWF is like a marketing. They're all about marketing.
Yeah,
DDT,
now you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube and they hit 9 of them a match.
Yeah, but like so it is interesting that the Bulldogs never really hit their finish, at least in the stuff that we watched. But
so that was their finish.
Yeah,
because we didn't see a flying headbutt either. I don't think.
In the first match,
I guess that was a flying headbutt.
It is.
When I saw it, I thought he just splashed him. Basically,
yeah.
I guess I just didn't see it properly, but yeah, that was a flying headbutt. Okay.
It's the 80s. It's the WWF. This tag team is called the British Bulldogs.
Yeah.
So we go to an interview with Mean Gene and Captain Lou. This is before. Sorry. They do 2 interview segments. I got 2 interview segments back to back. So this is right after they win the tag belts. They're interviewing with Mean Gene. Captain Lou, of course, thanks the Lord Jesus for helping them win the tag team titles.
If I could have bet on anything, it was that Captain Lou loves Jesus.
Yeah, you got to throw it up to the J-Man. You know, he's been out on the sea. He's seen what what nature can rot.
Is he a sea captain?
I assume if he's a captain.
He
What
looks
else
a
are you
lot. He looks like a sea captain. He
Yeah.
looks like he's on the poop deck, but I can see he looks like a shipman.
He's at least on the boat, you know.
They might not know he's on the boat, but he's on the boat.
He's seen the shark's eyes, like a devil's eyes. You know, he's been out there.
Oh, dude, I just listened to a podcast about the in Indianapolis. Oh,
pretty rough.
What a story, man!
Really,
like it's kind of like you don't really like fully grasp how horrible it was in the story from Jaws, because he would have had to like tell, and then guys were fucking drowning themselves on purpose and drinking the seawater because they know it would kill them, and like because they knew that if they didn't, the sharks would fucking kill them, and like you should, it's hardcore history. Dan Carlin, he did one on the
okay.
Check it out.
So I the one thing I have to say here is the tag belts that the Bulldogs have. I love the design of these tag team belts. They look so cool. Those are the classic tag team belts to me. They're the ones I grew up on. There have been other tag team belt designs that I hate, but this is the one. If they could have, if I could have any era of tag team title, that's the one that I would want. The Bulldogs cut another promo.
Oh, let me find the picture. Share you bitch. This one right here.
Yeah, those are the
that
ones.
is a sick belt.
That's
a
cool
sick belt. I like the old classic looking belts. Like I was bummed when the UFC went to like the modern type looking belt. Like WWE did the same thing with the W on it.
Yeah.
Like I like them where most of the face is just gold that you can't read up close.
Yeah.
I mean, that you can't read from far away. You have to get up close to read. Like I like that look more than like something that is just obviously just very clearly branded, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because they're the ones that I grew up on or whatever, but I think that's like it's a very simple but like very eye-catching design. And I think like the Bulldogs passed the test. They look good wearing the belts. Like the belts look good on them whenever they've got them. So the Bulldogs cut a quick promo here, and it's just like we'll take on all comers.
There's the original UFC belt. Sorry.
Yeah, that one's good.
And then the new one just looks all like, which is cool. Like it's a cool looking belt, but I like the old school stuff.
Yeah, try to see if you can find the copper looking WWF tag titles. Those ones are like shit. I hate those ones. That's like the Usos wore those ones. I think they've redesigned them since then, but they're like they're like brown and they look terrible. They don't have any personality.
I'm gonna isolate that.
Yeah.
Is it that one?
Yeah, those ones. Yeah, I don't like it.
It's fine. I don't like the red on the strap, but like once again, a lot of gold. It kind of looks a little lucha-y, even though it's got Spartan heads on it for some reason.
Yeah, man, those old ones, like compared to the old tag titles, I don't think it holds a candle to those ones.
They definitely look better than this one, I think.
Yeah, sprinter belt's tough.
That's the sprinter belt?
I think that's the sprinter belt.
God damn.
I don't like it.
I like the fact that it spins.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, the Bulldogs, they don't impress in the interview department, but they're great wrestlers.
Down, these guys are not charisma factories.
Yeah. So now, look, it's the 80s. What are you gonna do? You got baby faces. We're gonna go ahead and give an animal to those baby faces. So
why not, man? Let's do this.
Yeah, Jesse Ventura is backstage with the British Bulldogs, and they have kicked Captain Lou to the curb for Matilda, the purebred British Bulldog. And Ventura he's cracking some jokes here. He goes, purebred female? Girlfriend, maybe?
Yeah.
Are
you British dorks gonna have sex with this dog?
I have to ask the hard-hitting questions. What is the bestiality probability with Matilda? I would need to let the authorities know immediately.
We in the US of A, we protect our animals, and there are regulations against that. You at least have to have the approval of the dog's parents
this is not
before you
some
engage
god.
in coitus with the dog.
This is not some godless land. Unlike the Baja, you don't even want to know what happens in the Baja.
If you're going to engage in intimate intercourse with this dog, you have to at least have been married to this dog for 2 months, make an honest dog out of her.
Yeah. So, yeah, the British Bulldogs don't add anything here. They're just like, yeah, we got a dog. That's cool, right? We're Bulldogs. This is a Bulldog. There you go.
Get it?
And then yeah, and then they show clips another match where the Dream Team is wrestling the British Bulldogs, and Brutus Barber Beefcake has Davey Boy Smith up one-handed, pressing him like into a backbreaker. Maybe the most impressive thing I've ever seen Brutus Beefcake do in a wrestling match.
Yeah, pretty sick. Pretty sick.
Again, they only show like 2 minutes of this, and it ends in a disqualification where the British Bulldogs have been beaten up. The heels beat them up too badly, and so the British Bulldogs win this match.
It was because it was the wrong guy was in the ring.
Yeah.
It was the wrong guy pinned one of the wrong guy, and so they were like celebrating, and then they were like, the winner by disqualification, the British Bulldogs. The crowd's like, yeah,
we didn't get a finish. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So the Bulldogs are the champs, and they mostly feud with the Dream Team and then defend against the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, surely burning the building down in those matches.
I'm sure, yeah. I'm just sure those guys could keep up with the British Bulldogs.
Then I love including a jobber match, a WWF jobber match in these deep dives. It's a soft spot in my heart in general, because this is the type of wrestling that I grew up on, which seems so weird now, where it's like, no, every single match, one of these guys, there's no chance he's winning this match.
No fucking chance he's gonna beat this guy. It happened one time, and that's it.
What happened to my dear friend Barry Horowitz, and never again.
And I think it's good. I like this stuff. Let the stars shine a little bit. Not every single second on the thing has to be pay-per-view worthy in terms of like and some of the jobber guys can wrestle a little bit. Case in point, you got goddamn Cactus Jack in this one.
Yeah, so this is Les Thornton and Jack Foley.
Jack Foley, dude.
Versus the British Bulldogs. So in Mick Foley's book, there's a whole part of it that's dedicated to this. This is Mick Foley's second ever professional wrestling match, which is madness.
How is his second ever match in the WWE? This is just, the world used to be crazy, Dusty.
Yeah, this is his
If you showed up with like a stick with a sack of your clothes on the back of it and just said, I want to be a pro wrestler, Vince will be like, all right, you're fighting the Bulldogs tonight.
Here you go. So Pat Patterson comes to him backstage and is like, hey, what's your name? And he goes, Cactus Jack. And he goes, well, we can't use gimmick names, so you'll have to use your real name. So he uses Jack Foley instead of Mick for his name. And then the Bulldogs come in and he's talking to him before the match. And he goes, hey, Dynamite, love you. You're great. I'd love to take the snap suplex. And Dynamite Kid's like, yeah, we could probably make that happen.
Yeah.
And then
you sure?
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. And then he's talking to Davey Boy and he goes, I love the power slam you do. I can take that move as well. And Davey Boy's like, hey, like, thanks. And then Mick goes, hey, Bulldog, I throw a really good back elbow and I'd like to work it into this match. Do you think it'd be okay if we can do that? And he goes, oh yeah, I think we're going to do a lot of great stuff out there. And also,
somebody get this guy to stop fucking talking to me. I'm trying to do cocaine.
I forgot Pat Patterson is like, how many matches have you had? And of course, Mick Foley, being the sweetheart that he is, says 1. I've had 1 match.
He told him he was honest about it. And I thought this was going to be one of those classic things where he lied.
Nope, because he's Mick Foley, the sweetest man who ever lived. And Pat Patterson goes, well, what can you do? And he goes, I take a lot of great bumps. And I'm like, all right, well, that's what
throw me around like a sack of potatoes. So.
That's what you're going to do. So Les Thornton is like an accomplished British wrestler. He never really made it in America, but he knows how to wrestle. So in Mick Foley's retelling of it, him and the Dynamite Kid kind of do some British style catch as catch can wrestling for the first part, and then they tag out, and Mick Foley comes in
Here comes the Micker.
yeah, and like Mick in the book says they might as well have on the loudspeaker said, "Hey, the technical wrestling aspect of this match is over, but stick around for the massive ass kicking that's about to happen."
Yeah.
So, it's Dynamite. It's Davey and Les Thornton do some classic British wrestling. Then they tag Dynamite and Mick in, and Dynamite Kid immediately snap suplexes uh, Mick Foley and then hits him with a falling headbutt that, if you watch carefully, crosses Mick Foley's eyes. Like whenever he comes up to sell, he's in so much pain that his eyes are crossed. And then he tags in Bulldog, and Davey Boy Smith hits him with the running power slam, and then kind of puts him in like a loose front face lock. And Mick in the book is like, I took this to be, hey, here's my opportunity to do my move. So
My
he
elbow.
he fights out of it, and then he throws Bulldog into the ropes and goes to do the spinning like back elbow, and Davey no sells it. Just immediately no sells Mick's offense. And in his book, he says, the Dynamite Kid was brought up in wrestling tough, and he was a shooter, and he was like, he had respect for other guys who could work and who were tough guys, and he hated you if you didn't know how to wrestle or he didn't view you to be legitimate. And unfortunately, Mick Foley at this point, not legitimate. And he said
Yeah.
you could see the Dynamite Kid on the apron like shaking with anger at Mick Foley's poor attempts to be a pro wrestler. And so Davey Boy tags Dynamite back in. Dynamite throws him into the ropes, follows him with the trademark like hooking clothesline. That's one of Dynamite Kid's signature moves, and just blows up Mick Foley's jaw, dislocates his jaw off of this clothesline. Because we watched it before we started recording. He gives Mick Foley no time to turn around on this clothesline.
No, Mick Foley hits the ropes and then gets clothesline. There's no like, usually you hit the rope and you end up in the middle of the ring relatively and get clothesline. He's like a step off the rope when he gets smoked by
Yeah.
this clothesline.
And you said I don't think he was trying to hurt him, and then I said I don't think he was trying not to hurt him either. He was just, whatever was going to happen was going to happen to him. And I guess instead of hitting him flush with like the part of the arm that you do it with, he hit him with the bicep. And Dynamite Kid's got a pretty strong bicep
Yeah,
to have to bounce off of.
That doesn't feel very good.
And then he belly to back suplexes him off the second rope and murders him.
And you can tell Mick is like, what's going on? Like Mick is trying to play wrestler guy.
They have to help Mick Foley to the back. And he said he went and sat down, and even Greg Valentine, not known for being the kindest soul or the most warm-hearted man, came over to him and was like, "Are you okay, brother?" And he goes, "Where are the British Bulldogs?"
Foley says that,
and yeah, and Valentine goes, "They're in the locker room right there." I think thinking, "Oh, Mick's gonna go try to get a receipt."
Yeah.
Because he was abused in the ring by the British Bulldogs. And instead, again, because he's Mick Foley, he goes and he thanks him for the match. He goes, "Thank you. It was great being in there with you guys."
At least that's what he tried to say. What he actually said was,
yeah. Oh, thank you guys so much. And then he said he couldn't, he actually broke the ligament in his jaw. And so he couldn't chew solid food for like weeks. Because after this match, and like, it's a fun anecdote. It does also show the Dynamite Kid, who was not beyond taking liberties with an opponent. Like, he used to beat the shit out of Bret Hart when Bret Hart was first breaking in, and he was like, he's a tough guy, but he's a bully, and that will
yeah.
come back around later on as well.
Yeah.
So, uh, but we next go to December 13th, 1986. We're in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, at a dark match or a house show match where the British Bulldogs are wrestling Bob Orton Jr. and the Magnificent Morocco. And this is famously the match where Dynamite Kid blows his back out doing nothing.
Yeah.
He's we saw a clip that was like the Sabruder film of this particular incident that I found on YouTube, where it's got the overdub of the very serious music and it's got captions.
Yeah,
The
the music was ridiculous.
and it keeps showing it back and to the left.
The video is called Dynamite Kid's famous injury. If you want to find it online, there wasn't like a professional recording of this. It's just some dude in the crowd in the 80s with a 1980s camera, and apparently the fall off the top rope in the Greg the Hammer Valentine match was like the genesis of his really bad back problems. Like, he fucked himself up on the way down and with his head and all that, but he also hurt his back on that fall, and that was apparently the first time he had really messed his back up. That's what I heard.
Yeah,
today.
and I can imagine, like, they are running hard.
Yeah.
Turns out in the WWF in the 80s, like, and again, that ring is bullshit.
Well,
Every
and
night.
steroids aren't good for your muscles, and like, surprisingly, they're not good for your like ligaments, and like the people get weird injuries when they're on steroids, and especially when you're 5'9" and like 250 pounds, which he wasn't that big, but you know what I mean.
He's about 220.
He basically he hits the rope. The guy lays down. He jumps over the guy, and as he's going over the guy, he throws his back out.
Yeah, he hits the other rope, and it actually kind of worked out because the guy on the outside, I can't tell if it's Morocco or Orton, has their knee up in the old wrestling move where you hit the guy with the knee in the back to cut him off. But like, he's fuck city. Like, immediately, you can tell
he is destroyed. Like, his whole body just shrimps up like crazy.
Yeah, and he can't, like, he uses his upper body to basically army crawl out of the ring, but the guys in the match don't know he's hurt. And the British Bull, or the Davey Boy, or Dynamite Kid, man, I went everywhere. But the guy, the Dynamite Kid,
Barack Obama,
yeah, Dynamite Kid was notorious, or like famous for how well he sold. So they're like, oh, I mean, I did knee him in the back. So they're like kicking him on the floor.
Yeah, they're fucking with him. And he did sell really well, but yeah, they were fucking with him. And I was like watching it going, no, stop.
And he can't tell them, like, no, my back's fucked up. And so they lose this match by count out, I believe. And then they don't have a bed in the hospital near them for him to go. So they like pump him full of drugs. He takes a 4-hour plane ride back to Toronto, or Calgary maybe. And the Vince paid for 3 airline seats so he could lay down in the stretcher that they had him on. And so they take him to the hospital, and where they can get him in, and he's in the hospital for 10 days where they're doing tests and everything. He ruptured his C5 and C6 vertebrae, and then while they're doing the test, they find out, due to all the steroids, like you said, he's got nerve damage in his back. And his, like, he couldn't feel his leg. His leg at first, his left leg wouldn't stop shaking, and then he couldn't feel it at all. And so the doctors are like, well, the feelings should come back, but you have permanent nerve damage. You should definitely stop doing steroids. You most definitely should stop wrestling professionally. Yeah. And then Bret Hart goes to see him in the hospital and is like, hey, I hear you, he's like, I'm sure he's like, he basically, Davey Boy, or Dynamite Kid tells him, like, I'm fucked. It's over. And Bret's like, no, I mean, you'll be back. I mean, I know you're in bad shape now. And he's like, no, for real. Like, my back's destroyed. I need, if I dare may say it, a backiotomy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
God, if you're listening, help.
Yeah. And Bret is like, man, that stinks. Also, Vince wants me to get the tag team belt from you.
Yeah. Question
Because
mark?
yeah, and Dynamite tells him you can tell Vince to go fuck himself, and he's like, okay, because even paralyzed, everyone's afraid of the Dynamite Kid.
Yeah.
So he checks himself out of the hospital early, uh, and if you'll believe this, doesn't take the doctor's orders, and instead starts doing steroids again immediately.
No. First of all, no tough guy, like tough guy, quote unquote,
Yeah,
has stayed an entire hospital stay. They
no,
always have to leave early. They're pulling the things out of them. They're getting, but yeah,
it's tough guy
steroids are
code.
addictive, man.
Yeah. Well, and again, if being able to do the thing that is your life goal, that you are the best at or one of the best at in the world, involves you having to do steroids, I don't think like he doesn't have a good long view of like, oh man, what's my life gonna? Yeah. um, like he has to basically lay in bed, or he has to lay on the couch, and he has to use his kids like uh practice toilet uh so that he can like function, because he doesn't want to have to go upstairs to use like the adult bathroom while he's trying to recover. And they're like, you need to do physical therapy, you need to lay out the steroids, you definitely shouldn't wrestle anymore. And he's like, got it, do more steroids, uh definitely lift weights, and then I'm going to come back to wrestling.
Poop in a
So
plastic. All I gotta do is poop in a plastic toilet, and I can do all this.
yeah, and I'm great. While he's out recovering from, he does have back surgery, and while he's out, the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith continues on the house show circuit. The train keeps it rolling all night long. Uh, the
Is he
no
just
getting off.
wrestling singles matches?
No, he has a bunch of like replacement partners. So he teams with Rowdy Piper, he teams with Tito Santana, he teams with the Junkyard Dog, all these different guys,
Okay.
while they're still showing British Bulldog house show matches that are canned in the meantime, where they're still the champs,
Okay.
because they have weeks and weeks of television where they can roll that out.
Yeah.
So Vince calls Dynamite Kid and is like, hey, I really need that belt back, because you can't wrestle, and we're about to run out of matches where you guys are together. And he's like, no. And so then he goes to see
I'm the
Vince.
champ.
Yeah, he figures in his head, if they vacate the belts, they're going to put the belts back on the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov. And so he
And he
says to
doesn't want them to
Vince,
do that?
well, he uses it, when do you have leverage? When they need you and when they don't need you. His back's already fucked up. So he's like, I'll come back, but I will only lose the belts to the Hart Foundation. That's my stipulation.
So just
Like,
stand up for his dudes?
stand up for his dudes. You got to help
Yeah.
your dudes out. So they agree. Like, I guess Brett said that the Hart Foundation were supposed to get a run with the belts anyway, but Vince lies, so I don't know. Like, if he's gonna have him lose to one heel team, why not have him lose to the Hart Foundation? He
Yeah.
lies.
He lies. Yeah.
So
It ran through my head like 4 times after you said that.
yeah, so Vince agrees. Okay, you can come back. We can drop, if you drop the strap, to the Hart Foundation. So that takes us to a very famous match, a very sad match. I couldn't find any version of this where my memory holds up to the videotape, but I believe Davey Boy Smith has to carry the Dynamite Kid over his shoulder to the ring.
That's what I've heard, but I haven't seen that either.
But on YouTube I couldn't find anything. And Brett, there's a quote where he's talking about like Dynamite comes in and he's like a shell of himself. They barely recognize him because he hasn't been able to work out, he hasn't been able to basically move. And he's putting on his gear and it's like, a gladiator the one last time he's putting the armor on or whatever. And so the way they work this is Matilda gets in the ring and immediately starts to attack Jimmy Hart. And Jimmy Hart runs out of the ring, and as he's running around the corner, he hits Dynamite Kid in the back of the head with the megaphone. So the Dynamite Kid just lays on the floor prone this entire match. Like, and you could tell he can barely stand up.
Yeah, and when I watched this, I didn't have the context, so I was like, did he fall and like throw his back out? Like, because I didn't know he was already like I knew he was already hurt, but I didn't know that it was to that extent at that point. But yeah, it was weird.
So then Davey Boy does okay to in a handicap match for like a little bit, but the referee in this match keeps going out of the ring to check on Dynamite Kid, allowing the Hart Foundation to cheat, and then the Hart Foundation eventually hits their finish on Davey Boy. Quick pinfall or quick count on the pinfall, and the Hart Foundation win the tag title. So furthermore, Danny Davis is the referee in this match, and he's already kind of a dirty official. Like, he cost Tito Santana the Intercontinental title against Macho Man.
Yeah.
So they built the storyline they were already doing, which is Danny Davis is a dirty official, into the British Bulldogs Hart Foundation thing. And based on his officiating in this match, he gets banned from officiating for life plus 10 years, which is very funny. I like that detail a little bit.
Life plus 10 years is funny. Does he stay away for life? Does he never come back?
No, he transitions to being a wrestler, because a referee's license and a wrestler license are different in kayfabe. And Danny Davis was a wrestler already.
Okay.
So he was just being a referee, I think, so they could run this angle. So he becomes Dangerous Danny Davis. And
I like that. That's like a crooked cop getting in the mix, you know?
Yeah, I think you would like the Dangerous Danny Davis character, because he's a cowardly shitheel, you know?
Big fan.
And
Big
so Dynamite Kid returns. I'll remind you, he destroyed his back the beginning of December of 1986. He returns at WrestleMania 3, which is March 29th, 1987, to have a match where it's the British Bulldogs and Tito Santana versus the Hart Foundation and Danny Davis. We didn't watch this match as a group, but I went in to watch it just out of interest, because I didn't recall it being very good. But so the Dynamite Kid takes 0 bumps in this match. Like, he's in it. He does a couple of offensive things, but they don't hit him in the back. They're basically punching and kicking him. And then he doesn't hit the snap suplex. He teases it, but he takes 0 offense essentially to his back this entire match.
Good.
Yeah, which should be the case.
Yeah.
Danny Davis keeps doing this funny thing where the Hart Foundation will get one of the baby faces down. They'll tag Danny Davis in. He'll come in. He'll do literally 2 kicks and then tag back out.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't want to put too many matches on this, but like that match is okay as it turns out. But
and it's just another one where Dynamite Kid can't move.
Yeah, he just can't really move. But Dynamite does come back, and he goes back on obviously he goes back on the road, and to cope with all of the pain from his back, he ups the amount of painkillers and drinking and drugs that he's doing, because the Bulldogs were kind of known for being notorious partiers, but now it's more about pain management for the Dynamite Kid, taking Percocets and things to try to numb his back.
It's crazy that Dynamite Kid lived longer than Davey Boy Smith.
Yeah.
Like, considerably longer.
Yeah, considering all the shit he did to himself. I don't know about quality of life, but he did live longer.
He still wins in quality of life, because his quality of life is better because he's alive, right? So
sure.
But the quality of life was not good. It is better than Davey Boy Smith's quality of life.
Sure.
But because Davey Boy died in 2002 at 39, and
yeah,
and Dynamite made it to like 60 years old.
Yeah, he died on his birthday, actually.
Hell yeah, dude.
My lifestyle determines my death
style. Tick, 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 tick.
So then the Bulldogs kind of transition. That's kind of the end of them as the top tier, a top tier tag team. unfortunately.
God, that sucks, man. They were so good.
Yeah, they never get
And like,
another run with the belts.
so this happened in 1980. Basically, 1986 is when Dynamite gets hurt.
The end of '86, like December '86, is when he gets hurt.
So and Davey Boy dies at 39 in 2002. So we'd been 40 in 2003. So like, I mean, how young? He was young as shit when
he's like 25.
he was 24.
Yeah,
24 when this is happening. It's like, you know how good those guys would have been. I mean, so and he was the younger one. So he's like 28, 29 Dynamite when this happened.
Yeah, he's 28 whenever whenever he injures himself.
That's man, that sucks ass.
But they don't disappear, from TV. Like they're still popular characters. They win all their jobber matches. They win all their, regular TV matches. But most of their matches now end in count out or disqualification. They're used to feud with a heel team that's on the come up. So they have like a lot of matches with early Demolition once Demolition win the tag titles. But they don't win those matches. But they're around still. So they are involved in a big angle that we're going to talk about next, where they're going to wrestle the Islanders, who are Tama and Haku, who are managed by Bobby Heenan. So they go to start this match, and the Islanders get the advantage on the British Bulldogs, beat them up, and then they decide, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to steal their dog. Because we're fucked up. We're going to steal the British Bulldogs dog. So they grab Matilda off of the little sad platform that Matilda sits on while she watches the matches. And there's a guy holding Matilda's leash. This guy does nothing to protect this dog.
It's the Islanders. He shouldn't do anything to protect this dog.
No, you got to go down in the line of fire, man.
Stop Haku. You stop Haku. And if Jesse Ventura was in the building while they were running out, he's like, you have to marry that dog, just so you know. I will call the authorities if you do not marry that dog before engaging in coitus with that dog.
I need to see proper documentation that the dog has been divorced.
Yeah. This is going to be a long, drawn-out process. Too much red tape, I agree, but you cannot yet have sex with that dog.
And then, unfortunately, while they're running after the Islanders, the British Bulldogs fall down. They fall down chasing the Islanders, which is unfortunate, facing the doo-doo for the baby faces here, which I guess does allow the Islanders to get away quicker.
They're carrying a dog, and the British Bulldogs would catch Bobby Heenan at least, So like, there was one part where before they steal the dog, Bobby Heenan, he causes a distraction like he always does, and then the Islanders come and start beating up the Bulldogs during the distraction, and then Bobby Heenan steps down and then walks over to Matilda, and he's like yelling at the dog and like screaming at it. I couldn't really tell what he was saying, but he wipes sweat off his forehead and flicks it in the dog's face.
So then this becomes like storyline wise, this might be the British Bulldogs' biggest storyline feud in the WWF.
This is a plot of John Wick.
Yeah. So there's an interview where Gene Okerlund is with them, and they're begging for Matilda to be given back. He's like, any update on Matilda? And he's like, no. He's like,
please return our dogs.
Yeah,
I'm holding the Islanders responsible for our dogs. Do I have to continue talking about this?
He's like,
our dogs are gone. That's the storyline that I'm being paid to portray.
Me, the Dynamite Kid, once the greatest professional wrestler alive.
I'm having a hard time just standing here.
So they're like, Bobby Heenan and the Islanders are saying they don't know where Matilda is. But we know that they know where Matilda is. And like, why? Dog napping is a crime. Call the cops, dude. But like that the Islanders could theoretically have plausible deniability about what happened to Matilda He's like, we got the arena workers looking for her. We were looking for her. We
He
don't
said
know.
we've even got wrestling fans looking for
Yeah.
her. Like, hey, can you please look for my dog?
For the low, and they're wearing. Oh, not yet. So this continues. I believe the Islanders have been suspended for dog napping by President Jack Tunney. Like he's got the authority to make that happen.
Listen, if the cops aren't going to, sometimes vigilante justice has to happen.
This is presidential overreach. The worst I can ever think of. So then there's another interview with Mean Gene where he's about to talk about this dog napping, but first he's got to plug some dates. He's like, July 17th, you got to come see Billy Jack Haynes and the Mighty Hercules. And then you got to see Hulk Hogan. What's going to happen? Anyway, any news on that dog?
Bulldogs? Yeah, they walked up.
The Bulldogs still don't have their dog, and they've tried to get President Jack Tunney involved, and he's like, I don't really know what do you want me to do about this dog? And they're like, we're hearing rumor that Matilda won't eat and that she's being very, very poorly treated.
Yeah, they're taking her on the road with her, with them. Like, no matter where they are, she's probably somewhere in this arena somehow.
Yeah.
And I've heard she's skinny.
And it's the Dynamite Kid being like, she won't eat. Things are pretty bad. We love that dog.
And British Bulldog is just covering his face, like looking down like this the whole time. Like, I can't believe we're talking about this fucking dog because this asshole couldn't keep his back in order. I'm going to die soon.
They have shirts with Matilda's face on them. Like, man, you have emasculated.
I know.
You're one of your biggest babyface tag teams. And then the interview segment ends. There's no resolution. It's like, all right, well, kick rocks. Good luck with your dog. So then we go to WrestleMania 4, where the British Bulldogs have teamed up with fellow wrestling animal lover Coco Beware because he has a bird. And it's like, well, we have a dog, you have a bird. Imagine if someone stole your bird. What you would do?
He's like, say less.
Yeah, I'm on the team.
Coco Beware has WWF on his pants for some reason. Like, I was like, it would be funny if it was for the World Wildlife Fund.
He's doing charitable work.
Yeah,
he's like, I know I'm in this WWF, but I like to imagine that he has different tights for different organizations. Like he has an AWA set of pants, and he has an NWA set of pants.
Better athlete than I thought he was, by the way.
Yeah, he throws a mean drop kick in this match.
A really good drop kick, dude. Yeah. I thought this was just a gimmick bullshit wrestler, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy's an athlete.
No, Coco Beware. I think the gimmick works much better. Like Coco Beware needs the bird much more than the British Bulldogs need the Bulldog.
You think so? Does he have a bad? But the thing is, the British Bulldogs don't have a personality.
Yeah, but neither does the dog. The dog can't really do anything.
I know, but he adds a little bit. They got the shirts on. The dog's
people
cute.
Like it.
People like a dog. I like Matilda quite a bit.
You like Dags?
I like Dags. I particularly like nuptials with Dags. I have officiated no less than 500 man-dog weddings, and it's always beautiful. We play 3-dog night. We eat hot dogs.
There's been a tear in the old body's eye every single time.
We do what was it called with the fucking rope? A tugger rope. Well, like there's a giant tugger rope at every single one of them.
Red Rover, send that dog over.
And so on and so forth.
You understand. Merriment, etc. I asked you to start this video a little early.
Yes, and I meant to thank you for that. I really appreciate
I wanted to give you a little bit of help. Right before this match, Andre the Giant is being interviewed by Bob Uecker because he's a staple at these early WrestleManias, and he's just been eliminated with Hulk Hogan from the giant, terrible 14-man tag tournament or title tournament that is also the main thing of WrestleMania 4. Yeah, but it's all part of the plan, baby. And so he's like, Hulkamania's dead, Hulkamania's over, and he's got his fist on Bob Uecker's shoulder the entire time. And at the end, Uecker says, "Hey, can you get your foot off of my shoulder?"
Yeah,
And
it's a great line.
in maybe the most memeable moment of all time, Andre the Giant chokes Bob Uecker to death.
Yeah.
Bob Uecker face, delightful.
Making the
So,
greatest face. I gotta find the face, but yeah.
yeah.
Hey, how about getting your foot off my shoulder? Is a great thing to say when a big fucking guy has his hand on your shoulder.
Yeah. Best thing in this match, the Islanders come out and Bobby Heenan is in a dog attack suit. Or a dog attack prevention suit, maybe is a better name.
And it's
for
just the shirt too. It's like a true "what if he shot me in the face" situation.
No, he's got padded pants too.
Oh, does he really? I thought it was just the shirt. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's just wearing wrestling boots. It's padded pants. Yep.
There's Bob Uecker. There's our guy. Yep. Rest in peace, both these guys. But we lost Bob last year or this year. I can't remember, but one of the goats.
We stand a legend. But
he's wearing. They're not wrestling boots. They're like Dorothy red fucking ruby slippers, like wrestling ruby slippers.
Yeah,
they're sick.
So the Bulldogs do in fact have Matilda back for this match. Thank God. Our long national nightmare is over. I don't know that I would bring my dog. Great. Yeah, I don't know that I would bring my dog to a match against the guys who dog napped my dog last time. But I'm a different guy. So
listen, sometimes you got to just throw the dog out there and just see what happens. Dog might want its revenge.
Yeah. Well,
that is true. It might be a shame on me situation.
Yeah. Jesse Ventura is fat shaming Matilda in this match.
They said that dog was skinny. I'll show you a skinny dog.
Yeah, he's like, look at how fat that dog is.
Come down to the Baja. I've got dozens, if not hundreds, of skinny dogs in cages, just waiting to be married.
Best move in this match is Coco Beware throws a really great drop kick.
It's a fucking really good drop kick, man. It really is.
Bobby Heenan gets offense on the Dynamite Kid. Dynamite Kid sells for Bobby Heenan.
Which he beats the shit out of him, kind of.
Yeah, he's a legend. So it's just funny to imagine Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan gets more offense in this match on Dynamite Kid than Mick Foley did.
Yeah.
So
Dynamite's on the ground going, "You're lucky my back isn't hurting, you fucking nonce."
And then Heenan takes a really great chest first bump into the turnbuckle, and then takes another one. Coco Beware drop kicks him in the back right after, and then he takes another bump into the post. That's pretty awesome.
He's like, whoa, the whole time. It's like,
he's
fucking awesome comedy bumps.
Three Stooging it. The ref is trying to get the British Bulldogs out of the ring, and while that's going on, the Islanders beat up Bobby Heenan, or beat up Coco, and then pick up Bobby and slam him on Coco Beware for the pin for the Islanders and Coco Beware. And then Matilda chases Bobby Heenan, and Davey Boy Smith is doing a really commendable job trying to make it look like she's trying to viciously attack Bobby Heenan, but that dog has no idea what's going on.
Somebody trained the dog to at least hate Bobby Heenan, because like when this match started, I forgot to mention, like, as soon as Bobby gets in the ring and then they got Matilda in the ring, Matilda is on Bobby like white on rice. Like Matilda's trying to fuck Bobby up. So I don't know, if they like dipped that jacket in something, or like they got that dog like
or something.
They got that dog backstage like biting a Bobby Heenan doll, or like what happens, like how they train it to bite a very specific guy. And I think before, because you literally see Davey Boy Smith at one point pick up the dog and put it on Bobby Heenan as Bobby is like laying on the ground selling. But I think before that, the dog might have had a hold of Bobby's arm, like
of Doggy Heenan.
Doggy.
That's Bobby. That's Bobby Heenan's dog.
That's what I call him.
7.5 minutes, a star and a quarter. this is not a great match,
It deserves
but
about a star and a corner.
yeah, it's like this is sports entertainment, and sports entertainment has now swallowed even the British Bulldogs. Like
Yeah.
they can't have the match
You can't
anymore.
wrestle yourself out of it anymore. Like
Right.
there were times that in that era when you could wrestle your way out of sports entertainment, like Bret Hart did. Like
Yeah.
he was in some stuff, like in some storylines, but he generally wrestled himself out of this stuff. And like
Right. At least when the match happened, you knew the match was going to be good.
they're
And
not going to
now
give Bret Hart a dog.
right. But Dynamite can't have the match anymore.
Yeah,
Like
he can't move.
unfortunately for him. And like so now Davey Boy is actually the leader. Dynamite was the leader for years, and after his back is hurt, now it's the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, is the leader of the team. He's got to do
Yep.
the lion's share of the work. He's continuing to improve as a wrestler. And unfortunately, Dynamite can't do that because of all the injuries. So we get a little quick promo here that I found before they have a match with the fabulous Rougeau brothers, where like it's real mush mouthed. Unfortunately, from Davey Boy Smith here, he's like, "You've never faced the Bulldogs, and when you do, you'll wish you've never heard of the Bulldogs." But
I can't believe these guys are actually British because it sounds like they're both faking their accents.
Yeah, they're too British. In fact,
It's weird, man. They talk weird.
Yeah. So our last match is versus the Fabulous Rougeau brothers, SummerSlam 1988, August 27th, 1988. This is the first SummerSlam. And the crowd is very hot. This is the opening match. The Bulldogs get a really great reaction. Like they're happy to see him. It sounds like to me on the entrance.
People love them, man.
Yeah, eagle-eyed.
And they hate the Rougeaus.
Yeah, the Rougeaus, the tiny American flags. That's
They're
good
so
comedy.
good.
Yeah,
I love it.
And being announced from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, but soon to relocate to the U.S. forever.
Yeah.
That was their hometown.
And they have which is great. And they have fabulous on their butt, but it's spelled FABULEAUX.
Yeah, that's
yeah, I think that's how
the eagle-eyed viewer will see that the Dynamite Kid actually has his tights on backwards.
Yeah,
he's got the Union Jack on the front instead of the back. And
I needed protecting me knob.
It's my nads. The Rougeaus in this match try to get a USA chant started, which is really funny, and the crowd boos them for it. That's good heat. That's quality. That's quality entertainment. Look, Dynamite in this match, he's so they get the heat on Davey Boy, and then Dynamite has a comeback in this match where he does the snap suplex, he does a diving headbutt. It looks good, but you could just tell like he can't do it. He can't move nearly with the ferocity that he used to, and like he's just a step slow.
I was surprised. I watched this almost like through my fingers because I told you I got a phone call. I didn't finish this match, but like I was like, holy shit, he like you're right. He's not moving at the speed he used to move, but like I was under the impression that this dude had like Lou Gehrig's disease, like, and so at least he's moving a little bit. And like, but this basically the end for like WWE.
Yeah, so this match goes to a draw, and it's 2.5 stars. It's a 20-minute draw. And again, much like all the other later British Bulldogs matches, there's no winner. But Dynamite is upset that they're now being used to like get over this mid card. They can't beat this mid card heel team.
Yeah.
Right. So they go to Vince, and Dynamite's like, hey, we need to switch it up. Can we turn the heel? Because Dynamite Kid was a great heel. And Davey Boy Smith says, yeah, we could shave our heads and then tattoo Bulldogs on the side of our head. And Dynamite Kid's like, why don't you do that?
Yeah. How about you go fuck yourself, Davey?
Yeah, he's like, why don't
And
you
how
do
about
it?
you consult me things before you say bring stuff up in front of Vince?
Yeah, and Vince like gives him the old shine. He's like, no, you guys are still my top team. We're just mixing it up. Like, you guys are still making great money, right? Like, things are great. We don't need to turn you. And so that's like, you know, number 100 of the list of things where and Dynamite's just, he's kind of surly in general because he can't wrestle the way that he used to. He's drinking all the time. He's taking pills. He's, you know, they're shifting down the card while other teams are moving up, and he could kind of see, you know, the writings on the wall. Like,
Yeah.
the Rockers have got there. The Rockers are doing Dynamite, the British Bulldog style matches. The Hart Foundation are baby faces now. Like, where are you at on the totem pole as far as being a babyface team? And if Vince won't let him turn heel, what's going to happen? So this is this match with the Rougeos is actually before the famous Jacques Rougeau Dynamite Kid incident.
Okay.
So the Dynamite Kid and the Dynamite Kid and Davey Boy are known notoriously for being ribbers in wrestling, which is like playing practical jokes on the other guys. Like, it's kind of just a thing in wrestling that I equate kind of similarly to baseball. Like, the guys are around each other so much they kind of fuck with each other, and some of the things that they do are harmless, and some of the things are much less like or are much more harmful, much less cool.
And it's funny too because like some things every once in a while they're funny, right? And like
Yeah,
you find you know, back in baseball they used to you chew bubble gum and you blow a bubble and you pinch it at the end and you just put it on the top of the guy's hat so the guy doesn't know and he's just standing in the dugout with the bubble on his hat. It's funny.
yeah, right.
But
That's not hurting anybody.
yeah, but like it's one for some reason in wrestling I get really like I find it cringeworthy when they're talking about like, oh man, we used to do all these ribs on each other. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why. I hate it. I don't like it.
So they used to be notorious for like fucking with a guy's gear. Like, a guy leaves his gym bag in the back and they would open it and like tear his shirt and like cut his pants and shit and like
Yeah.
destroy his stuff. Or they'd use like they'd get like a lock to a locker that they didn't know the combination to, and then they'd like tie a guy's gym bag to the floor or like to a bench or something, and then you have to get bolt cutters or whatever to cut it. Like, that stuff sucks.
Yeah, it's
You
annoying, but it's not that
probably
bad.
shouldn't
Yeah.
do that. But they used to also H bomb guys. Dynamite Kid was notorious for putting Halcyon, I think it's Halcyon is how you say it, like basically putting drugs in people's drink to make them pass out. Like, and they would do,
It's like Dumb and Dumber when the guy's dead on the ground and they're just laughing at him because they made him eat those hot little chili pepper things.
oh yeah, yeah. They're like H bombing is what they would call it. It's like a huge thing in wrestling. And like, I don't know if that's the same stuff that's like for roofies, but it's essentially you drink and then you pass out. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, and so they would do that to guys, and like they also used to set people's beds on fire and shit. Like, destructive, mean things are not
Yeah, I don't like these
things
guys.
that I'm not cool with. But Kurt Hennig comes to the WWF. He's friends with the Dynamite Kid from time they spent in Portland together. And Kurt Hennig is known as like one of the masters of doing ribs. He was like all-time rib guy. So the Rougeos have been getting fucked with by the British Bulldogs. And Jacques Rougeau has had enough of it. And so one night, Kurt is in the back and he's sitting there, and Jacques is going through his bag, and he thinks that he sees that some of his clothes have been cut up, but he has to go catch a flight. So he's telling Kurt, like, man, if the Bulldogs mess with my shit again, or he's like, did you mess with my shit? And he's like, no, man, I was in the bathroom, but I did see the Bulldogs were around or whatever. And he's like, that's it, man. He's like, I'm going to go tell Vince if my shit's messed up because it's gone too far. Because Vince had talked to everybody about the ribs becoming too mean previously.
Yeah, it's
And
annoying.
right, and it's just like one time maybe it's funny. There are things like the bubble gum on the hat is not destroying anyone's property,
Yeah.
you know, or like those. There's a difference, and so um, when Kurt or whenever Jacques leaves, Kurt at the next TV taping tells the Bulldogs like, hey, Jacques thinks you guys messed with his shit, and so he's going to go tell Vince. And Dynamite Kid is already at the top of his limit, and he thinks that he's getting narked on and that he's been narked on before, and that's why they're maybe moving down the card. And it turns out Kurt Hennig's the one who fucked with Jacques Rougeau's stuff, obviously, but he's playing them against each other. That's the rib.
It's the perfect crime, huh?
Yeah. So
Huh?
look at that.
His name's Mr. Perfect.
Mr.
Huh?
Perfect. So the next time Dynamite Kid sees Jacques Rougeau, he walks up to him and slaps the shit out of him. And is like, you're a narc. You've been narking to Vince. And whenever Jacques gets up and tries to fight him, Dynamite Kid takes him down, beats him up some more. And Raymond, who's Jacques' brother, who's actually like an accomplished boxer, he'd had a messed up knee. So he couldn't help his brother in that situation. And the Rougeau brothers' dad, who was also a famous wrestler and tough guy, was in the building watching his son get the shit kicked out of him by the Dynamite Kid. Yeah. So it's like layer on layer of indignity, you know. So Jacques is like, I got to do something. He's like, he like went home and he ruminated on it like the whole weekend, and he's like, he's taking lessons from Raymond on how to throw a good punch. And then he calls his dad and he's like, hey, I'm making my comeback. Next TV taping, I'm getting Dynamite Kid back. And their dad goes, well, he's a real tough guy, right? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, okay, well, then you're gonna want it to be one punch, and that's it, because you don't want to have to fight this guy. So he's like, what you do is you get a roll of quarters from the bank, and then you put that in your fist, and when you go to punch him, you pack that tight in your fist and you punch him with that. All right. So
Jacques Rougeau's going, I told you, man. I told you, you're not going to take any more shit, dog.
Yeah. It's literally, it's literally him being like, I have to do something. This dude embarrassed me in front of my dad. So,
not my daddy.
At the next TV taping, Dynamite Kid is, and his dad told him, try to get him after lunch, because people don't like to fight. It's harder to fight after lunch after you've eaten, right? Which is, it sounds like some old guy knowledge, some weird old guy knowledge. That's could or could not be true. So he catches Dynamite Kid alone coming out of catering, and he kind of like begs off. Dynamite goes by, and then wham, fucking boom, punch with the rolled up quarters, breaks like 3 of Dynamite Kid's teeth and fucks his jaw.
I keep hearing 4 teeth.
4 teeth.
Yeah.
Dynamite doesn't go down after being punched in the face with a roll full of quarters.
And Jacques like, oh God.
I'm
sorry, Mr. Kid.
and like the Terminator, the fucking Dynamite Kid's trying to come forward at him. And so Raymond is like arming Ronda Rousey's boxing coach, and he's like, head movement. And he's telling him like, jab him, fucking get him. And so he gets a couple more shots on Dynamite, and then the wrestlers break it up, right?
Yeah.
But now the Dynamite Kid is like, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. I don't ever stop beefing. Even though I started the beef, I also will never stop the beef.
Yeah.
Either. So it escalates to this degree where both of these, the British Bulldogs and the Rougeaus, both claim to know legit gangsters in Canada that they're like, these guys are my backup. If something happens to me, guess what? I'm calling real gangsters to do some real gangster shit. And so Vince has to call him like a meeting of the families, because he's like, I got to get these guys to work it out or whatever. And so he calls a meeting, and he's like, what do we got to do? We got to knock it off. He's like, you started it, but you broke the Dynamite Kid's teeth. What are we going to do? And so Dynamite's like, if they pay for the dental work, I'll call it off. And so I was like, all right, so that's what we'll do. But Dynamite Kid never gets his teeth fixed. He leaves it because, he thinks it looks more badass to have the broken teeth, right?
Hell yeah.
Okay. So that is not why they leave the WWF. They leave WWF because there was some mix up with travel and they had to buy their own tickets home from Chicago, I think, to Calgary. And Dynamite Kid is like, this is atrocious. I won't stand for it. This is some kind of plot against me. And it seemed like a legitimate just mix up with travel, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm leaving. And Davey Boy is like, well, I guess I'm leaving too. You're my guy. We're together. And so they give Vince their notice. And they're like, we'll wrestle at the Survivor Series, and then that'll be it. And so the Survivor Series is a huge 5-team versus 5-team tag team match. So it's 20 guys.
5-man team?
Yeah. It's 5 tag teams. So each team has 10
Oh,
guys
shit.
on it.
Okay.
So the heel team has 10 guys, the babyface team has 10 guys.
Yeah.
The Rougeos are on one side of the ring, the Bulldogs are on the other. They concoct this plan where the Rougeos are eliminated early from the Survivor Series match so that they can get dressed and get their gear and get the fuck out. And the Bulldogs are in the match for like 35 minutes. Like the Rougeos get bounced almost immediately, and then the Bulldogs are out there till nearly the end of the match. So that when they come back, because that's the next time that Dynamite could have got his revenge, they're not.
Jacques out of the building.
They're gone.
Yeah.
So that is truly the last British Bulldogs WWF match, but that's on the 101 match watch list, and it's like 40 minutes long. It doesn't really have anything to do with the British Bulldogs as a team. You know, they're just on this team of baby faces. So after that, they leave the WWF. They go back to Japan where they're still a big deal. Like they go back to all Japan, they're still over there. They go back to Calgary where they're still over as a team. They're still working together. Then they do a breakup angle in Stampede Wrestling where it's Bulldog versus Dynamite, and they continue to team in Japan while they're doing this whole angle. And the Dynamite's back is getting worse. He's doing more pills. He's more upset than than ever.
If everything I'm hearing is like his personality just got worse and worse as he got older, and they think that it was the steroids and the drugs and the booze and the concussions just slowly deteriorated his brain. And that's what we really got to realize is how bad, like when we can't be surprised when people who clang their head constantly act weird.
Yeah. Turn out to be assholes. Yeah.
Like everybody loved Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
And then Chris Benoit murdered his family and killed himself. And then they found out that Chris Benoit had the brain of a 70-year-old man. You know what I mean?
With
or 70-year-old
severe Alzheimer's.
Yeah. And then like Kanye even. Kanye was in a horrible car accident and he had like a traumatic brain injury really bad. And he's a weird guy before that. Yeah. But I wonder if this stuff right now is happening if Kanye doesn't hit his head in that car accident.
Yeah, you know? Well, and drugs and all the other stuff that, you know,
sure.
you're piling on top of those things. Like, so years before this, so Davey decides secretly he's going to go back to WWF because Dynamite Kid is not very well liked, but Davey Boy Smith pretty well liked.
Yeah.
He negotiates a deal to go back to WWF as the British Bulldog because years before he had been hanging out with Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, and they had told him like, "Hey, you should trademark your gimmick because if you trademark it, then you can take it anywhere you want." And he went to Dynamite. I always thought that he had done it behind Dynamite Kid's back and kind of screwed him. And in the book that I used for the research for this, it turns out that he went to Dynamite Kid with that idea, but it costs a fair amount of money to trademark that. And Dynamite Kid was like, "Fucking bollocks. I'm not gonna do it." And so Davey
you right off your rocker?
Right. So Davey did it for himself. And so whenever he went back to the WWF, he went as the British Bulldog and then was very litigious when Dynamite Kid reformed a new tag team with Johnny Smith and they were calling themselves the British Bulldogs. He like essentially was like, "You can't call yourself that. It's my thing." And so That
He
causes
was
the
probably also sick of the Dynamite Kid by then. Like
yeah,
based
yeah.
on what I have learned about the guy, he was probably sick of him by then.
Yeah, and he didn't need him anymore. He wasn't the younger cousin or the younger the younger cousin looking up to the older cousin at that point. It was
Yeah,
like, you know, so Johnny Smith and the Dynamite Kid have to call themselves the British Bruisers instead, which is
not as good, but it's
yeah,
fine.
but still
Yeah,
sick.
yeah.
And that led to, I don't think the Dynamite Kid and Davey Boy Smith ever spoke again. I think it was the beef was on. It was fucking on till the end.
God damn.
And Dynamite Kid he retires from full time competition in 1991.
Yeah,
It was, which is, what is he, 68, 78, 88? He's 31
yeah.
or 33 maybe when he has to retire from wrestling. Um,
And he hasn't been himself
and
for a long time by then either.
no,
Yeah, he
he's
was
been out of
33.
it. And he comes out of retirement to do a match for a new promotion called Michinoku Pro in October 1996. He does a Legends of High Flying 6-man tag, which is him, Dos Caras, and Kobayashi uh, versus the Great Sasuke, Mil Mascaras, and Tiger Mask 1. But like you said that you saw the picture of that, essentially they're like, he's skin and bones and his tights barely will barely fit on him. Like it's really sad. And he's able to do the trademark tombstone, which is like his move in Japan, and like get through this match. But he's while he's leaving the airport to come home, he has a seizure. And he had sporadic seizures going all the way back to the WWF days.
Yeah,
Occasional really terrible seizures, but they were so intermittent that he didn't think about it. But it's clearly because of the trauma to his body. So after he has this final match, he has another seizure, uh, and then uh, he's sent to the hospital, and he's basically lives in a wheelchair after that until his
yeah.
death.
He lost the use of his left leg completely.
Yeah,
Here's a picture of him in that match. Like if we hadn't seen him before, he just kind of looks like a soft, like dude. He just looks like a dude,
yeah. He
like
just looks kind
kind
of
of
like
thin.
scummy Giovanni Ribisi, you know.
Yeah, and
But
like it's
like,
but knowing what he looked like previously, like something's going on. Like I'll probably obviously he's not taking steroids anymore, because he was so big,
yeah.
so big on the steroids.
Well,
But it's just like
he probably can't even work out regular because of his back. Like, it's tough. Like the fact that he did this match is incredible. Yeah, like look at that dude.
yeah, like
That
that's this is Davey Boy and Dynamite Kid, obviously when they were both on the sauce, like, and then you switch over to what Dynamite Kid looked like 10 years later.
yeah, that's
Wild.
uh yeah, that's unfortunately it ends in a terribly tragic way, but like you can't overstate Dynamite Kid's contribution and the British Bulldogs as a team contribution to pro wrestling. Like,
Yeah, because like Davey Boy was great. Like I don't think he was Dynamite Kid, but like he they were a great tag team, and to be a great tag team, you need two guys. And Davey Boy used his strength really well. Their psychology was really good. He was an athletic guy. And he ended up having a great legacy as a wrestler until he passed away at 39 years old. Like it's just crazy that Dynamite made it so much longer than he did.
yeah, and it's, I mean, in the book I listened to, which is called Davey and Dynamite, really, or Dynamite and Davey, I think. Let me look it up just to be sure, because it was really good. It had a lot of had a lot of great information. Um, I really enjoyed it. But yeah, it's called Dynamite and Davey: The Explosive Lives of the British Bulldogs. The forwards by Bruce Hart. It's written by a guy named Stephen Bell. You can get the audiobook, you can get the regular version of it. But I recommend it. I used that a lot for the research on this episode, to
Okay.
firsthand accounts and all that sort of stuff. But um in the 80s in the WWF, when they were a team, Davey Boy Smith's back and knees were already giving him trouble, because the Stampede style would get you hurt. Like the amount of high flying and the ferocity with which those guys worked uh really took a toll on their bodies. Like it's crazy that Brett was still, like, he had a knee brace, but he was still doing okay in 1999, until he until he wrestled Goldberg. But like, he wrestled a physical style, not in the same way that Dynamite Kid did, because Dynamite Kid, because he was small, was like, I got to make everybody look good. I got to make myself stand out. He just took horrific bumps for the time.
Well, it's also like Brett never got as gigantic as the other two guys. Like, Brett was big. I
Yeah.
would not, if you put a gun to my head, I wouldn't be able to guess whether or not Bret Hart took steroids. Like, I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be surprised. I'd actually be surprised if he didn't, just based on when it was and like all that stuff. But he was never like a mutant like those two guys were. And becoming a mutant and while doing all that stuff is not good. Like, your frame's built for a certain size human being. And
Yeah.
that's bro science, but like, it makes sense. When you're as heavy as Dynamite Kid was at his height, your body's not going to like that. And it's probably the same for Davey Boy, even though Davey Boy was, I think, 2 inches taller or something like that.
Yeah, I just think, like, and they packed on so much muscle that uh and you can even tell in Davey Boy's later career, like, he doesn't move nearly as well as he did in these matches that we watched.
Oh yeah, this
Like,
gave
he
me a
had
completely new like appreciation for Davey Boy Smith.
yeah, and he had to augment his style and all those sort of things. But like, it was still really enjoyable to watch. Like that Heart Foundation match and the Dream Team match are both really, really good, enjoyable matches. Yeah, still, I enjoyed both
Yeah,
of those. So
yeah, 100%.
I think that's it for the British Bulldogs this week. Andrew, would you care to give me a number?
We'll go. Let's go. Later Kobe, 24.
Going 24. Oh, we might have watched this match before. I don't remember. Probably. But the Midnight Express versus the Young Pistols for Great American Bash 1990.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I'm
So
excited.
sticking with tag teams, gonna have some fun with that one. That's a really great match. So join us next week, because we'll break that down. We got wrestler bio. We'll hit some news and notes. Anything that's come up in the last couple of weeks.
It's gonna be hard to top your wrestler bio from last week. The Gorgeous George one's real tough to beat. I might have to do Big Daddy.
You'll have to look into Big Daddy.
Yeah.
British wrestling is such an interesting. Like, I wish I knew more about it. I wish there was more resources that I could use. There probably are, but like, because it's such a fascinating thing, because it's so different from American wrestling, and yet it also has its own quirks and all of those things. Yeah. So thank you to everybody who listens. Andrew talked about all of the socials at the beginning. Go hit those. We appreciate it. And we'll be back next week at Wrestling Over Everything. Bye, everybody.
he tried to have a sign off, huh? We're Dynamite.
There
like
it
the
is.
Kid. There you go.
Like the Kid.